Welcome, Washington families. I'm just beginning and starting our principal chat. I'm just going to warm up a little bit because some people will be logging on or figuring out how to log on. So I'll do a little stand-up comedy here while we get things rolling. I'm guessing if you're watching me, you've already gone to the Washington website and you've clicked on the YouTube link. So thank you so much for doing that. If you are on the live stream, you can also open a tab on our Washington website, and right under where you clicked on the YouTube live stream is also a link that has attendance information I'll be talking about this evening. And this attendance information is also in a link under our Washington parent resources on our website. So I'm going to wait here just for a few minutes because I know that a few people will be joining us. And we want to make sure that you have a chance to be on our live stream. And again, we're going to be talking about Washington's attendance policy. It affects all of us because we're absent for one reason or the other. It could be strep throat. It could be that you're looking to take a trip. It could be a death in the family. And I just want to help families to understand how our policy works. So again, we'll be waiting for a few viewers to join us. I'm here with my amazing instructional technology facilitator, Miss Christine Tuttle. Miss Tuttle is helping us to go and be 21st century partners with parents. Now, Miss Tuttle, as I look at my live stream, I see right now it says 0 viewers. Yeah. So does that mean currently no one's watching me? And now I've got 1 viewer. That 1 viewer, is that you, Mrs. Tuttle, or is that another person who's joining us? Could be Miss Tuttle. So I could be talking to Miss Tuttle. I could be talking to one of our parents who's joining us. If you're one of the parents who's joining us for our live stream chat, thank you so much. We're here to learn about Washington's attendance policy. I'm not going to go into detail yet because I want to wait for a few more viewers to join us. We had a wonderful day. It certainly was a beautiful sunshiny day in Raleigh, North Carolina. And hopefully you're having a nice end to your evening, either at home or at work, wherever you may be watching from. Again, if you were just joining us, the attendance policy and guidelines is on a link on our website, and you can click on that link. I'll be going through those attendance guidelines in just a few moments, but I'm waiting for a few more viewers to join us. I'm going to go into my presentation at about 5:35. It's 5:32 right now. If you have any questions, you can email me at bgrant@wcpss.net. That's bgrant@wcpss.net. I'm going to have one of our other studio audience members just test that out. So I'm going to have Miss Wilkinson, who's working hard on our magnet electives, to just send an email to bgrant@wcpss.net, and we'll see if our studio technician, Miss Chris Tuttle, can access that information. Currently, we still have 1 viewer, which I believe is Miss Chris Tuttle. All right, did you get a question?
It says hello, and the question is, what are we going to learn about attendance?
The viewer asked, what are we going to learn about attendance? And we're going to learn several components of attendance. 1, what types of things are excused attendance? What are excused absences and what are unexcused absences? And what impact does that have on you and your family as far as your child's education? And in what ways does that impact you as far as your enrollment at Washington Elementary School? If you click off for 1 moment viewing me, can you do that, Ms. Tuttle? I want to see if my 1 viewer goes away, if that's still just you. Otherwise, I'll start because I have 1 viewer watching. Are you clicked off? So the person who's watching out there, I see that I have 1 viewer. I was just talking to Mrs. Tuttle, and we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'll share with you about our attendance guidelines. This is also going to be recorded and families can view it. So if you're viewing from home and you have the link, you can see the link that takes you to the guidelines or overview letter where I talk about different components. Now it just went to 0 viewers. But, and now it's back at 1. So I think that might be you. It just takes time to reflect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start in case we have people that want to watch this later. So the purpose of our attendance discussion with our principal chat today is to help families understand the types of absences that we have and what you need to do as a family to ensure that your child's educational success. Families can have absences for a number of reasons. The most typical one is your child is out sick. That could be a fever of 100 or higher, strep throat, or other illnesses. You just need to turn in a notice to the office stating your child was sick, and that goes down as excused. If a family has multiple absences for a child being sick, ultimately the principal can request that they turn in a note from the doctor for the reason for the illness, but most typically it's just a parent's note. Some other reasons that could be a death in the family or an religious observance, and you can just send in a note and that would be excused by me, the principal. The one that I want to spend the most time talking about today is the educational absence. An educational absence is when families are looking to have experiences or trips that they think have value to their family and their child, and they wish to have that marked as an excused absence. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because it's important that you know what the guidelines are. I'm 100% a supporter of families taking trips together and exploring things together as a family. There's a lot of value in outside learning experiences beyond our school walls. That could be a trip. That could be a family that decides they're taking a day trip to go strawberry picking to a local fruit or vegetable farm. It could be a trip that you're taking that's many days away and you're traveling across the US continent, or you're traveling to other continents. The piece that viewers need to understand is that when your child's absent from school, those have real benefits potentially, but it also impacts the classroom and the teacher who's working with the children. So families can apply for an educational absence, but I'm in the process of revising how many days I excuse for educational absences. And that's in part because some families have been seeking to take trips that go for 2 or 3 weeks or longer, and that has a very significant impact on classrooms. It's important that families still have the opportunity to do trips and to explore those opportunities beyond our school walls, but they also have to think about those trips in context of the school year and plan those trips in the summertime or to align with winter breaks or spring breaks. Going forward, and this is listed in our educational absence guidelines that I posted on our website, I will excuse up to 2 days of an educational opportunity for any given trip. So if a family is taking a trip for 5 days, I will excuse for 2 of those for an educational absence when they turn in their form for some of the educational opportunities that might take place. If a family is looking to go for longer than that, and it's the 7 days that they're out of school or up to 10 days, I would still excuse only 2 days of that as an educational absence. What families have to be aware of and calculate is if you're taking a trip and you're out for longer than 10 or more days that are unexcused, that can impact your child's enrollment in school. So for example, if you were taking a 10-day trip and I excuse 2 of them, which would be the maximum I'll excuse for any given trip, you would then have 8 unexcused absences that would go on your child's report card. And you would still retain your enrollment status here in our magnet school. If you opted and you were seeking to take a 15-day trip, again, the maximum number of days that would be excused are 2. You would then have 13 days unexcused. That would exceed our guidelines that states 10 or more unexcused days in a row. The principal can recommend to student assignment that a student would be unenrolled from the school, in which case the student would have to return to their base school and they would have to re-enroll the following year to try to re-enter at Washington Elementary. So it's critically important that families understand the impact of taking a long trip. So you can take a 2, 3, 5-day trip. Again, trips have value and I support that, and we all have different reasons for doing those trips. But if you have 10 or more days that are consecutive of unexcused absences, that will now result in me recommending to student assignment that you are withdrawn from Washington and you return to your base school. And that's just to provide some really clear but firm guidelines for families in understanding that when they're looking to make the trips, they need to back them up to either their winter break, their spring break, or their summer vacations, but not taking 3-week trips in the middle of the school year and missing that amount of school time. Teachers at Washington work really hard to create engaging lessons for our kids, and that dynamic learning takes place in the classroom and throughout our building through the elective program and the core classes that we teach. That critical learning is best when the kids are there for that instruction. It's much different if you're doing makeup work after being absent. So I want to talk a little bit about what that makeup work would be and what type of resources that teachers are required by me to provide to families when they're going to be absent. So again, viewers who are just joining us, thank you so much. I see that we have a number of viewers that are now viewing our principal chat about attendance. And I encourage you to click on the link that is next to the YouTube link that states Washington's attendance policy and guidelines. That has information that I'm referring to tonight during the principal chat. So one of the pieces on that sheet that you can access on our website talks about resources that parents can access. It's the elementary parent resource, and that's a link that takes you to a Wake County website. So if you're going to be out for an extended absence and you notify the teacher ahead of time, the teacher can tell you what will be covered during the time that you're out, but it's the parent's responsibility to go to this website to see what some of those objectives are and ways that you can teach it at home. The teacher is not providing detailed lessons or work for a child to do while they're out. A teacher is responsible for retaining any work that is normally passed out during the course of a lesson and any assessments or tests that are given, and the student makes up those tests or assessments or work that was normally completed in class when they return. When a family is choosing to take their child out of school for an extended period of time, the teacher is not putting together a work packet that is a compilation of all the things that may be covered over the time that a child is out. The teacher's responsibility is to plan for the students who are there and to give the best instruction possible. And that's how they need to be dedicating their time and their planning time. But they will save that work and they will save those tests or assessments that a student can prepare for. And the child, of course, is allowed to complete those when they return. So again, you want to look at that link that says elementary parent resources. If you're going to be out on a trip, you would let your teacher know. That teacher would say, we're covering the following in math or language arts or in science. You could look at that link and it gives you some suggestions of some things that you can work on with your child. For those families who are joining us, one of the pieces that I was sharing was that I value the educational experiences we take. So I've flown on trips with my own kids and we've gone and visited other parts of the country or to other countries as well. And learning experiences have a lot of value. The piece that I try to navigate as your principal and the discretion I have is allowing for or excusing educational absences. And that's what we're focusing on this evening. Educational absences are things that range from visiting a local museum or traveling to New York City or traveling across to California or maybe to another country. When families are making the choices to do that, they need to recognize the number of days that would be excused. And as I'm outlining now, I will excuse a maximum of 2 days for any given trip. Days beyond that are unexcused. And when a family has or a student has 10 unexcused absences consecutively, that will then result in me notifying student assignment and making the recommendation that a student be withdrawn from school. That child would have to return to their base school if they're a magnet student, and they would have to reapply for magnet status the following year. So it's critical that families think about when planning the trips that they don't go beyond a given number of days that would result in them possibly losing their seat at Washington. Viewers who've got questions as we talk, please email me at bgrant at wcpss.net. Again, that's B, Grant, at wcpss.net. Our instructional technology facilitator, Ms. Tuttle, is here with me in our iLab, and she will read off any questions that our viewers may have, and I can respond to you live. So I just finished talking about the resources link that you can access that provides you guidelines for ways to support your child in the teaching objectives. There's another link on that form, which again is below the YouTube link that you clicked on to view me right now. And that's the request for excuse absence form. That's the form that you need to fill out and turn in to me in advance prior to the trip, stating the days or dates that you seek to be out and the reason that you're taking the trip and the educational value that you feel it provides. I will then sign off on that, and I will write on there, if you've had me do it before, the excused number of days. And again, the maximum number of excused days will now be 2 for any given trip that a family takes. So it's important that you have the link for that. Another link that you want to look at on that document that's on our website is the link to rules and policy by Wake County. It's 6000 R&P attendance policy link. That link shares with you the detailed information regarding Wake County's attendance policy. There's another critical link that's on there, and that's Washington's attendance plan. And on Washington's attendance plan, it goes through and shares with you the steps that result when you're absent for any given number of days. And if there's different points with numbers of absences based on excused and unexcused, where you receive either a letter or a call by the school, a letter from me, from our social worker. As you accrue a certain number of absences, that results in things such as potentially being taken to juvenile court because you're not taking care of your parental responsibilities regarding the state's attendance laws, and ultimately a student could be retained if they have over 30 absences. So the Washington attendance plan goes through the guidelines that we have as far as the attendance policies and the responsibilities of parents, and those guidelines are the same for any school in Wake County. It just details what happens at Washington specifically. Ms. Tuttle, do we have any call-ins or email-ins from our viewers?
We have a question from a viewer.
Question from a viewer.
If it's an emergency, hard to back verification time, what's the process?
Okay, so the viewer is saying if it's an emergency and it's hard to back it up with other vacation time, what's the process then? So emergencies come up. I'm actually attending a funeral in another week or so because my aunt had passed away recently, and being there for funerals or other emergencies are critical for families, and I understand that. The piece that families have to calculate is, again, if you're going to be gone, in planning your trip, and it's during the school year, you really shouldn't be gone longer than 11 consecutive school days, because I will excuse up to 2 for educational absence. So if you're gone 11 days, which is a long time, that's 2 weeks plus a day, and it's multiple weekends. You would then have 9 days unexcused, which would still keep you under that bar of 10. Again, 10 is the point that's going to activate me making a recommendation to student assignment to withdraw that student. So, and when emergencies come up, obviously parents need to act on that, but they need to think about this 2-week period of time that would be the maximum allowed. And I recognize that emergencies happen, although I'm finding increasingly that families are looking to take 2- and 3-week trips that are largely for visiting families, but it's in the middle of the school year. And I need families to be more cognizant and aware of how that impacts the school and teaching and learning. And they need to be able to work within those guidelines. Ms. Tuttle, any other questions from our viewers? Okay, viewers, just a short presentation, but do you have any other questions regarding our attendance policy before I sign off from this principal chat? I'll give you another few minutes to send in some email questions. Again, the main focus is on educational absences, of course, religious observances, deaths in the family, they're excused, but you need to be aware of extended trips will definitely impact what is entailed as far as your child's enrollment at school. I'm always happy to have personal conversations with families about any issues they have around teaching and learning. Attendance is one of them. If you want to ask further questions or talk with me in person, I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you so much for tuning in to our live principal chat this evening. I hope you have a wonderful night.